Welcome back to another Tall Ship Tuesday. If you have been following this channel for any length of time, you are no doubt already familiar with the object I hold in my hands. This is a belaying pin, a tool defined in Dean King's A Sea of Words as the wooden or iron pins around which ropes of the running rigging are coiled, also sometimes used as weapons. Now, I have at an earlier time showed you the several diverse methods for making a line fast to a pin rail. But what of the second part of this definition, the assertion that belaying pins are also sometimes used as weapons? Providence's own pins are made of ash wood, which is lighter and easier on line than metal pins, but this is not to say that heavier, more potentially lethal pins do not exist. On the contrary, on larger sailing vessels, pins made of brass, iron, steel, or even bronze are quite commonplace. In his whaling epic, Moby Dick, Herman Melville describes the ship Pequod as using an even more idiosyncratic material. All round, her unpaneled open bulwarks were garnished like one continuous jaw with the long, sharp teeth of the sperm whale, inserted there for pins to fasten her old hempen thews and tendons to. In works of fiction such as Moby Dick, belaying pins seem almost to be more often mentioned as weapons than as tools necessary for the sailing of ships. Raphael Sabatini's fictionalized account of the life of Christopher Columbus, for example, contains the passage, "Cologne stood alone to stem the rush, armed with an iron belaying pin which he had plucked from the rack. Cologne swung the belaying pin, and the Irishman went down with a broken head. In a moment, the waist of the caravel was the scene of a raging battle. Cologne's belaying pin smashed the arm of Gomez, as that broken hidalgo was brandishing a knife, and it sent another of his assailants rolling in the scuppers." In real life, however, violence perpetrated by sailors wielding belaying pins is often far grimmer and more sordid than in Sabatini's swashbuckling tale. An 1864 issue of the New York Times, for example, recounts the misdeeds of 5 sailors charged with murdering their vessel's mate. The article states that on a bright and moonlit night, one of the sailors called the mate to the forward part of the ship, telling him that there were porpoises under the bows of the ship which he could harpoon, a sport of which the mate was very fond. When the mate went forward, he was knocked on the head with an iron belaying pin and thrown overboard, but not without cries of "murder" and "help," which were heard by the man at the wheel. It was only after some minutes that the absence of the mate was noticed, and the 2 men, on being asked where he was, the first said that he was overboard, having fallen while harpooning a porpoise. The harpoon was, however, discovered to be fast in the chains, and when the morning came, the spots of blood on the deck and the rail of the vessel, on the belaying pin which lay there, and on the clothes of the men, furnished damning proof of the crime which they had committed. In another article from the New York Times, this one from 1860, the roles are reversed, and it is an officer who is charged with using a belaying pin for less than peaceable purposes. George Dower, second mate of the American packet ship Devonshire, was charged under the Extradition Act at Bow Street on Monday with having murdered a seaman named James Humphreys on the high seas on board the ship Devonshire. Henry Shepherd, an able seaman, deposed that the Devonshire sailed from New York for London on the 1st of December last. On the night of the day the vessel sailed, Humphreys was on watch. The prisoner struck him in the face and knocked him down with a belaying pin. Humphreys made no resistance. While he was down, the prisoner kicked him in the side. After that, he frequently saw the prisoner strike Humphreys up to the night he was lost, the 8th of December. Sometimes he would strike Humphreys with his fists, and sometimes he would kick him, sometimes beat him with a belaying pin. Humphreys was indeed murdered by Dower, who virtually threw him into the sea from aloft while reefing the main topsail, for no apparent reason other than disliking the man. He was later heard to remark, "The son of a bitch was no sailor, and I calculated to drown him anyhow before long." And so you see, in the wrong hands, even a piece of kit as innocent as a belaying pin can become a murderous weapon.